Third Eye Fitness coming at you guys. Today I'm going to talk about rivalries in the fitness and wellness scene. So, by that, I'm talking about all the subcategories of health, fitness, wellness, such as CrossFit, calisthenics, yoga, bodybuilding, powerlifting, endurance athletes, um, etc. So, being in this scene for over 10 years now, I find it interesting how we have kind of these rivalries and almost hate on different subgenres of this scene. For example, a lot of bodybuilders hate on CrossFitters. Um, both CrossFitters and bodybuilders can hate on endurance athletes. Yoga kind of seems to be off doing its own thing, but really, all of these subcategories are under the wellness category for me. And I think it's kind of silly that we have these rivalries in the first place. Now, it's okay to resonate with some more than others and find the ones that you like to do, and maybe you don't like to do some of the others. For example, for me, powerlifting and endurance type training, I'm not as fond of, right? But I never hate on the people that do resonate with those things and are able to better themselves through them. So, yeah, I just kind of wanted to make a video to talk about this because I find it interesting. Um, I think, some common themes that all of these subgenres have is movement, right? Being number one, we're all moving in one form or another, whether it's slower and controlled like yoga and bodybuilding, or explosive like powerlifting and CrossFit. Movement is a common theme. I think we all get into one of these categories to better ourselves, to live a healthier lifestyle. So, I think focusing on more of what we have in common than our differences can be beneficial for the scene as a whole. You know, People outside of the fitness scene, people that don't work out or do any of these subgenres that I'm talking about, they already kind of look at fitness fanatics as maybe a little off, a little crazy. So I find it interesting how we do that to each other. We should really be unifying. Another common theme across the board with all of these, right, is nutrition. Doesn't matter if you're an endurance athlete, practice yoga, power lifter, bodybuilding, nutrition is a common theme. Now, it's not going to look the same depending on what you're doing, right? But all of these need to focus on nutrition. They can't neglect it or it's going to hurt their performance. So, between nutrition and, mental health and movement, I think we have a lot more in common than we do differences. So, just to address some of the hate that these other categories get. I know, for example, CrossFit seems to get a lot of hate from especially the bodybuilding and powerlifting scenes. I have some endurance athletes friends that hate on it too, but I think everyone is doing this to better themselves. Everyone gets mental help from this. We get physical benefits from this. And so I think it's important to acknowledge that, stand behind your brothers and sisters, even if they're doing a different subgenre than you. You probably have more in common with them than differences. Another common theme, I think, across the board is just managing stress levels. I think if you fall into any of these categories, whether it's CrossFit or endurance athletes, even calisthenics, I'll throw that in there too. Calisthenics is a whole subgenre as well. Yoga, powerlifting, bodybuilding, etc. I think, everyone is trying to better themselves. Everyone is trying to find stress relief in these. And so I think standing behind each other will make the scene stronger, less divided. Bodybuilding, for example, the one that I partake in the most, gets a lot of hate from other subgenres, especially like the endurance athletes. But even like CrossFit and yoga and powerlifting too, they kind of hate on the bodybuilders. Um, yeah, and I just find it interesting because I think we're all on a similar journey, and the paths may be spread out a little bit depending on which niche you fall into. But I think the end goal is very similar for everyone. For example, yoga end goal might be a little more spiritual and mental than physical, but it's still very physically demanding. There's advanced yoga people that can do crazy stuff and they're incredibly strong. So, just because you fall into a certain niche doesn't mean you have to necessarily disregard the others. That's what's great about fitness is there's all this different stuff that you can find, and maybe even dip your toes in different ones and see which ones resonate with you and which ones don't. And there's pros and cons to each of these subgenres as well. I don't think any of them are perfect. I think some maybe have a higher prone for injury, but then maybe they make you more explosive or stronger. So others may be less prone to injury, yoga being the number one, I think, probably least likely to get injured, but you can develop incredible flexibility and strength, and mental resilience through yoga. So, yeah, stand together. It's been great seeing fitness and wellness in general grow over the years. But with that growth, it still seems like those same rivalries that have been the same since I first got into the scene are still there. And so I think we can do better. I think we can unify. Yeah, and just because there's some of these subgenres that you don't resonate with, that doesn't mean you need to hate on them. I think, again, they have more in common with you than the average person, for sure. And you can still find things to bounce ideas off back and forth and talk about. So, yeah, quick video today. Wanted to shout out the new subscribers that I have. Appreciate you guys so much, for real. Yeah, thank you for liking and subbing. Be trying to get more videos out soon.